Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Vietnamese ebook before it's gone.
Welcome to VietnamesePod101.com's 3 phút học tiếng Việt, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Vietnamese. Xin chào, tôi là Giang. Rất vui được làm quen với bạn. Hi, I'm Giang. Nice to meet you. In this series, we're going to learn basic Vietnamese expressions. It's super easy and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself in Vietnamese. There are only 2 sentences you need to remember. You will first learn a neutral way to introduce yourself, which sounds okay in both formal and informal situations. Let's first see how Vietnamese people generally introduce themselves. Xin chào, tôi là Giang. Rất vui được làm quen với bạn. Hi, I'm Giang. Nice to meet you. Xin chào, tôi là Giang. Rất vui được làm quen với bạn. Start by saying, xin chào, tôi là. Then say your name. Xin chào, tôi là Giang. Finally say, rất vui được làm quen với bạn. Xin chào, tôi là Giang. Rất vui được làm quen với bạn. Let's break this down and see what it means. Xin chào means hi or hello, and it is used in both formal and informal situations. It can also be used at any time of the day, though the equivalents of good morning, good afternoon, and good evening do exist. Vietnamese people don't normally use them in their daily conversation. So you have to remember only 2 words. Xin chào. Isn't it convenient? Tôi là Giang. That's how Vietnamese people introduce themselves. Tôi là is similar to I am, and you simply need to add your name to this. Though there's a more formal way to introduce your name in Vietnamese, which I'll mention later. Using tôi là plus your name is neutral and sounds okay in any circumstances. Tôi là Giang. Pretty easy, right? And now, let's look at the last sentence. Rất vui được làm quen với bạn. Rất vui means I'm very happy, and được làm quen với bạn means to get to know you or to get acquainted with you. Vietnamese people usually look forward to a closer relationship in the future, so they tend to say I'm happy to get to know you rather than just I'm happy to meet you. So again, rất vui được làm quen với bạn. Let's put everything together. Xin chào, tôi là Giang. Rất vui được làm quen với bạn. Hi, I'm Giang. Nice to meet you. Not very difficult, right? Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's a more formal way to introduce yourself in Vietnamese. That is, xin chào, tôi tên là Giang. Rất hân hạnh được làm quen với bạn. So, what has changed from the previous introduction? Let's take a close look at these together. Notice that the word xin chào doesn't change, but the way you say your name is longer. One more word is added. Tôi tên là instead of tôi là. So instead of saying I am, you say my name is. Tôi tên là Giang. My name is Giang. And the last sentence. Rất hân hạnh được làm quen với bạn. It's my pleasure to get to know you. So, unless you go to Vietnam for business, it is advisable that you stick to the previous introduction. One more time. The general way to introduce yourself in Vietnamese is Xin chào, tôi là Giang. Rất vui được làm quen với bạn. The formal way to introduce yourself is Xin chào, tôi tên là Giang. Rất hân hạnh được làm quen với bạn. Now it's time for Giang's insights. Vietnamese people are not familiar with personal touches when meeting each other, so kissing or hugging is not recommended, though business people and male friends do shake hands when they meet. For the first meeting, simply introducing yourself with a smile is the best way to get to know a Vietnamese person. Do you know how we say thank you in Vietnamese? You'll learn how to say this and many other words in the next lesson. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn. See you then.
Xin chào, tôi tên là Giang. Bạn tên là gì?
Chào Giang, tôi tên là Mary.
Rất vui được gặp bạn.
Tôi cũng vậy.
In this lesson, we'll learn some of the most common greetings used in Vietnamese. Bạn đã sẵn sàng chưa? Are you ready? Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu nhé. So, let's start. The general greeting in Vietnamese is Xin chào. Xin chào. Xin chào means hi or hello and is used when we meet each other. As I already mentioned in the first lesson, you can say Xin chào in both formal and informal situations as well as at any time of the day. Vietnamese people do not distinguish which part of the day they are meeting when greeting each other. So such words as good morning, good afternoon, or good evening are basically not in use. When leaving, we say tạm biệt, tạm biệt. Tạm biệt literally means goodbye and is considered both formal and informal. Finally, see you soon in Vietnamese is hẹn gặp lại. And again, it is used both formally and informally. The more intimate way to say see you soon is hẹn gặp lại nhé. Nhé literally has no meaning. It is added at the end just to make the sentence more natural and melodious. Hẹn gặp lại. Hẹn gặp lại nhé. Now you can greet people in many different ways in Vietnamese. Let's review them all again. When meeting each other at any time of day, xin chào. When leaving, tạm biệt. When we will see the other person again, hẹn gặp lại. Hẹn gặp lại nhé. It's easy, isn't it? Now it's time for Zhang's insights. A more natural way to greet someone is to remove the word xin and just say chào with a pronoun appropriate for the listener. Vietnamese language consists of a complicated system of pronouns which vary according to gender, age, and the closeness of the relationship. For example, chào bạn, chào anh, chào chị, chào em, chào chú, chào bác, chào cô. Well, this sounds complex, right? But once you learn more, you'll find them interesting. Anyway, the easiest and safest way to greet someone is saying xin chào and just that. Pretty convenient, isn't it? During the next lesson, we will learn the meaning of the phrase Bạn có biết nói tiếng Anh không? Do you already know it? We'll be waiting to talk about it with you in our next 3 phút học tiếng Việt lesson. Tạm biệt, hẹn gặp lại!
Xin hỏi, cheese tiếng Việt nói thế nào?
Format.
Xin lỗi, tôi chưa kịp nghe. Làm ơn nói lại lần nữa.
Format.
Làm ơn nói chậm hơn một chút.
Format.
Làm ơn viết từ đó bằng tiếng Việt giúp tôi.
Xin chào, tôi là Giang. Hi everybody, I'm Giang. Welcome to VietnamesePod101.com's 3 phút học tiếng Việt, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Vietnamese. In the last lesson, we learned the most common forms of greetings in Vietnamese. Do you remember them? In this lesson, we're going to learn a very useful phrase. Do you speak English? If you find yourself in a situation where you need assistance in English, this phrase can be a lifesaver. And because you are asking in Vietnamese, you can be sure that everyone will understand what you're saying, even if the answer is no. First, here's the informal way to say it. Bạn có biết nói tiếng Anh không? Bạn có biết nói tiếng Anh không? Let's break it down. Bạn is the equivalent of you in Vietnamese. But as I mentioned in previous lessons, the Vietnamese language has a complicated system of pronouns, and the way you address the person you're speaking to depends on gender, age, and how close a relationship you have with him or her. Bạn is the most general pronoun you can use in this case because it can refer to someone younger than you, someone about your age, or someone several years older than you. Có biết nói literally means knows how to speak, and tiếng Anh means English. So the sentence can literally be translated as, do you know how to speak English? Or, can you speak English? Finally, did you notice the last word of the question? Không literally means no in Vietnamese, but when it is added at the end of a statement, a yes-no question is formed. It is a grammatical point that you will learn in more details later. Now, let's practice the question one more time. Bạn có biết nói tiếng Anh không? We are now going to make this sentence formal. It is very simple. You just need to add 2 more words at the beginning of the previous question and keeping the rest unchanged. Xin hỏi, bạn có biết nói tiếng Anh không? Xin hỏi, bạn có biết nói tiếng Anh không? Xin hỏi means exactly the same as excuse me. When you add these words at the beginning of any question, it becomes more polite. The responses you will receive could be any one of these 3. Có, yes. Có. Một chút thôi, a little. Một chút thôi. Không, tôi không biết nói tiếng Anh. No, I don't speak English. Không, tôi không biết nói tiếng Anh. Since this last one is a negative statement, the verb is the opposite of the verb used in the question. The question asks, do you know? Có biết. And the answer is, don't know. Không biết. The subject has also been changed from bạn, you, to tôi, I, and the question word at the end, không, is omitted. Again, the complete answer is, không, tôi không biết nói tiếng Anh. No, I don't speak English. Now, it's time for Giang's insights. If you still remember the list of pronouns I mentioned in the last lessons, you can choose a suitable pronoun for the person you're talking to instead of using bạn in the question. But when you're talking to an older person, the word ạ is added at the end of the question to show respect. For example, anh có biết nói tiếng Anh không ạ? Chị có biết nói tiếng Anh không ạ? Bác có biết nói tiếng Anh không ạ? In this lesson, we mentioned the expression xin hỏi, which means excuse me. But do you know how to say sorry in Vietnamese? In the next lesson, we will learn this and other ways to apologize in Vietnamese. It's never too late to show your good manners with Vietnamese people. I'll see you in our next 3 phút học tiếng Việt lesson. Hẹn gặp lại!
Xin chào, tôi tên là An. Xin chào, tôi tên là Mary. Rất vui được gặp bạn. Tôi cũng vậy. Tạm biệt, hẹn gặp lại.
Want to speak real Vietnamese from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at VietnamesePod101.com.
Xin chào, tôi là Giang. Hi everybody, I'm Giang. Welcome to VietnamesePod101.com's 3 phút học tiếng Việt, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Vietnamese. In the last lesson, we learned some words used when apologizing in Vietnamese, including xin hỏi and xin lỗi. In this lesson, we are going to learn numbers in Vietnamese. Yes, numbers. Số đếm from 1 to 10, and you're going to learn them in only 3 minutes. 3 phút. Are you ready? Let's start. 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5 6 6 7 7 8 8 9 9 10 10. Okay, now repeat after me. I say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Great job! What's before 1? Do you know? In Vietnamese, 0 is không. It's the same word as no in Vietnamese. Không. Now, you don't have any more excuses. You can give your friends your cell phone number in Vietnamese. Let's try together. We'll use the phrase số điện thoại của tôi là, which means my phone number is. Số điện thoại của tôi là. Số điện thoại của tôi là 090 467 1805. Can you read it by yourself? 090 467 1805. Perfect! Now, it's time for Giang's insights. Vietnamese people believe that each number has meaning, so they are very careful in choosing their cell phone numbers. Many of them even spend a lot of money to get their desired numbers. Do you know what numbers are the most popular? They are 6 and 8, because Vietnamese people believe that these two numbers represent happiness and wealth. Do you know the Vietnamese word for 100? In the next lesson, we're going to learn the numbers from 11 to 100 in Vietnamese. Your task now is to practice the numbers we studied in this lesson, from 1 to 10. Tạm biệt.
Bạn bao nhiêu tuổi? Tôi 20 tuổi. Còn bạn? Tôi 23 tuổi. Bạn sinh năm nào? Tôi sinh năm 89. Ồ, vậy hơn tuổi tôi rồi. Tôi phải gọi bạn là chị nhỉ? Đúng rồi.
We're going to learn how to go shopping in Vietnam. Before we go, you need to know how to say how much is it? Bao nhiêu tiền? Bao nhiêu tiền? Are you ready to go shopping in Vietnam? Let's go! You see something you like and want to ask the shopkeeper how much it costs. The first thing to say is xin hỏi. Do you remember what that means? Excuse me. Xin hỏi bao nhiêu tiền? Xin hỏi bao nhiêu tiền? If we want to be more specific when asking how much is this and refer to a certain type of object, to say something like how much is this hat, we need to add a noun classifier, then the object itself, and finally the word này, which means this. Put bao nhiêu tiền after this phrase. So, hat in Vietnamese is mũ. Cái is the general classifier for objects. cái mũ này means this hat. Xin hỏi, cái mũ này bao nhiêu tiền? Excuse me, how much is this hat? If you want to refer to an animal, use the classifier con. Here's an example with chicken, which is called gà. Xin hỏi, con gà này bao nhiêu tiền? Excuse me, how much is this chicken? Xin hỏi, con gà này bao nhiêu tiền? At this point, the shopkeeper will simply answer with the price. To say a price in Vietnamese, first, say the number, then add the word nghìn, which means 1,000. Because $1 is equal to about 20,000 Vietnamese đồng, we always talk in big numbers when saying prices in Vietnamese. For example, the shopkeeper can say 40.000, 40,000 đồng. Notice that the currency unit đồng is not needed here. Now that you have learned how to say the numbers from 1 to 100 in Vietnamese, I guess you can catch this price easily, right? Now, it's time for Giang's insights. Vietnamese people tend to add particles at the end of sentences to make it more melodic and natural. Here you can say, bao nhiêu tiền vậy? Vậy is a particle, usually added at the end of a question. As I said, its function is to help you sound more natural and intimate. For example, at a cafe, you can ask, một cappuccino bao nhiêu tiền vậy? One cappuccino, how much is it? At this point, can you count currency in Vietnamese? We are going to learn how to do this and much more in the next lesson. I'll be waiting for you in our next 3 phút học tiếng Việt lesson. Tạm biệt!
Cà phê của chị đây.
Cảm ơn.
Không có gì. Của chị 15.000.
Gửi anh.
Xin cảm ơn.
Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.